Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In American history, there are many presidents who earlier in life served as high-ranking military members. The most famous of these probably is George Washington, but let's not forget men like Teddy Roosevelt and Dwight Eisenhower. Now, in American history, some men, like Washington, were excellent in both spheres, but others only succeeded in one. And in this episode, we're going to explore one of these, the most important general in American history, perhaps outside of Washington, the man who guided the Union to victory in the American Civil War, but could not bring that same success on the battlefield to the White House. He was the supreme commander of the United States Army during the Civil War and the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. Now, Grant was an Ohioan born in 1822 and a graduate of West Point, though not with any special amount of honors. He served effectively in the Mexican-American War, but otherwise had no real notoriety when the Civil War erupted in 1861. So Grant was given command of a small and somewhat reckless volunteer Union force in Illinois in the same year, and he was an outstanding leader of these men, and as such he rose up in the ranks of the Union Army in the first few years of the war. Now we have to understand at this time the Union Army in the Eastern Theater was struggling mightily. From 1861 to 63, Lincoln could not keep any generals, and the vastly superior Union force kept losing to the smaller Confederate forces, mostly because the generals lacked skill, smarts, and in the case of the highly decorated George B. McClellan, they lacked battlefield guts and leadership. But in the Western Theater, the Union Army dominated the Confederates, and this was largely due to Grant's leadership. He won the region near the Mississippi River with a massive victory at Vicksburg in 1863, and this set the stage for the pivotal year of 1864 when Lincoln appointed Grant as the supreme commander of the Union Army early that year. Grant did what no Union general before him could do or would do. He effectively enacted a plan to smother the Confederate Army using the North's supreme manpower and resources to basically snuff out any hope of a Southern victory. He led the capture of Richmond in the spring of 1865, and a week later, he accepted General Lee's Confederate surrender. Now, he was widely regarded as a national hero, and he became widely popular in the United States. This gave him all the backing he needed to run for president in the 1868 election on the Republican ticket, which he won handily over Democratic challenger Horatio Seymour. Grant served 2 full terms in the White House from 1869 to 1877, and while he maintained the same high level of character in the White House that he had on the battlefield, he was nowhere near as effective. Now, many historians believe this was mainly because he became a victim of the corruption in post-war politics, where corrupt elites called the shots in his cabinet. Grant lacked the discernment to choose trustworthy men, which left him ineffective in Washington. So he spent his remaining days crafting his autobiography before dying of throat cancer in the year 1885. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.